working to connect a region of over 600 million bridges between our lands.
Good evening, I'm Alma Angeles and you're watching ASEAN in Focus on tonight's headlines. In a tense development, the Philippines has voiced strong condemnation against China's Coast Guard for employing water cannons against its vessels in the disputed South China Sea. But China said that it had taken necessary controls against Philippine boats that had illegally entered its waters. In a significant transition of power, Cambodian King Norodom Sihamoni has officially named Dr. Han Manet as the Prime Minister of the Kingdom of Cambodia for the 7th parliamentary mandate. This appointment marks a new chapter in Cambodia's political landscape, with Han Manet succeeding his father, Premier Hun Sen, who relinquishes the reins after a 4-decade tenure. Amid the relentless onslaught of climate change, President Marcos has sounded a clarion call for action in Pampanga, acknowledging the profound impact of climate change on the region's recurring floods. President Marcos emphasized the imperative of adapting to this new reality. Dozens of individuals have been reported injured and numerous buildings have collapsed following a shallow 5.4 magnitude earthquake that struck during the early hours of Sunday. First in our news, in a tense development, the Philippines has voiced strong condemnation against China's Coast Guard for employing water cannons against its vessels in the disputed South China Sea. The Philippines describes this action as illegal and dangerous, heightening regional tensions. The incident took place on Saturday as the Philippine Coast Guard was escorting boats carrying food, water, fuel, and other supplies for Filipino military personnel stationed at Second Thomas Shoal. Second Thomas Shoal is a small reef in the Spratly Islands, which are also claimed by China. The Philippine Coast Guard said that the Chinese Coast Guard had blocked and water cannoned one of its chartered resupply vessels. China, for its part, said that it had taken necessary controls against Philippine boats that had illegally entered its waters.
Ang ating Secretary Foreign Affairs ay pinuntahan si Ambassador Huang ngayong araw at nagdala ng isa pang note verbal kasama na ang mga picture, mga video kung ano mga pangyayari. At titignan natin kung ano yung kanilang magiging sagot. But we continue to assert our sovereignty. We continue to assert our territorial rights in the face of all of these challenges, and consistent with the international law and UNCLOS especially. We still have to keep communicating with the Chinese government, with President Xi, with Beijing. We still have to keep communicating with them because we need to really come to a conclusion. Ang nagiging, siyempre, position ng China, sinasabi nila kaming may-ari nito eh. Kaya pinagtatanggol namin. Tayo naman sinasabi, hindi. Kami ang may-ari nito. Kaya ipinagtatanggol namin. Kaya yun ang nagiging gray area ngayon na pinag-uusapan.
The National Task Force on the West Philippine Sea, led by National Security Advisor Eduardo Hermanio, strongly condemns the aggressive, dangerous, and unlawful actions by the Chinese Coast Guard and Chinese maritime militia vessels against Philippine-chartered supply boats and Philippine Coast Guard vessels who were undertaking a regular rotation and resupply mission in Ayungin Shoal last Saturday, August 5, 2023. The Philippine vessels were subjected to repeated water cannoning and continuous dangerous maneuvers.
China has ignored a 2016 international court ruling that invalidated its claims to most of the South China Sea.
There is another China Coast Guard that approached which came from Ayungin Shoal. This is China Coast Guard 5201. By 8/19, we were able to monitor 3 China Coast Guard China Coast Guard 4203, China Coast Guard 5201, and China Coast Guard 5402. The objective of all these three China Coast Guard vessels is to prevent the Philippine Coast Guard vessel from providing security escort to the Onaizame or the Green Hull, Onaizame number 1. And this is also the first time the China Coast Guard 5402 carried out a dangerous maneuver to block MRV 4409. We can be able to see how China Coast Guard 5304 was able to separate the Green Hull supply boat from the Philippine Coast Guard vessel. The objective is to separate the Philippine Coast Guard vessel from those indigenous boats being used so that they can be able to prevent the Philippine Coast Guard from providing escort to those supply boats. And in this photo, you can see how 5304, which is the larger Coast Guard vessel compared to the Philippine Coast Guard, to cut across between the Onaizame and the Philippine Coast Guard 4409. Around 8:19, additional China Coast Guard 4203 also conducted a dangerous maneuver to prevent 4402 from advancing its position going to Ayungin. 4402 is the one escorting the other supply boats, which is the Red Hull. Around 8:40, this was also a photo shown by Colonel Aguilar a while ago. You can see how China Coast Guard carried out a very dangerous maneuver as if they're going to ram the supply boat from behind. Around 8:48 in the morning, we were able to monitor another PLA Navy vessel, PLA Navy 630, with a distance of around 18 nautical miles from Ayungin. By 9:13 in the morning, the Philippine Coast Guard vessel had experienced this dangerous maneuver of China Coast Guard 5304. This is actually the second time that 5304 already carried out this dangerous maneuver. And this is actually the closest.
The dispute has the potential to escalate into conflict as both countries have significant military forces in the region. The United States has a mutual defense treaty with the Philippines, and it has pledged to defend the Philippines if it is attacked by China. The incident is a reminder of the tensions that exist in the South China Sea, and it raises concerns about the potential for conflict in the region. Meanwhile, the United States Department of State has issued a stern rebuke, expressing deep concern over the recent harassment of Philippine vessels by the China Coast Guard, which it stated as a direct threat to regional peace and stability. In a resolute stance, the DOS has declared its unwavering support for the Philippines in the face of these dangerous actions. This sentiment has been echoed by the United Kingdom, as its embassy in Manila also shares the U.S. perspective. The UK Embassy, meanwhile, conveyed their message via the social platform X, formerly Twitter, stating such action poses serious risks to the regional peace and stability. The UK stands steadfast in its commitment to international law, in particular UNCLOS in the South China Sea. Meanwhile, the Canadian Embassy in the Philippines has weighed in, denouncing what it terms continuing acts of intimidation and coercion by the PRC against its neighbors. These actions, according to Canada, erode safety, security, and stability across the region, raising alarming concerns about potential grave miscalculations. The Japanese envoy in Manila called the incident totally unacceptable. The DOS has called upon China to not only respect the 2016 arbitral ruling, but also to uphold the fundamental principle of freedom of navigation, a right afforded to all states. The Maritime Industry Authority, or Marina, has taken decisive action in the wake of a harrowing incident off the coast of Corcuera town in Romblon province. The Passenger Ship Safety Certificate, or PSSC, of the motorized banca, which came perilously close to sinking on Saturday, has been suspended by Marina. Tragically, this incident resulted in the loss of one passenger's life. According to a report from the Philippine Coast Guard, The boat departed from the port of Calatrava, also a town in Romblon, at around 11 a.m. The departure took place amid favorable sea and weather conditions. The vessel was bound for Corcuera port, carrying 5 crew members, 90 passengers, and 1 motorcycle on board. The boat's authorized passenger capacity, as stated by the PCG, is up to 96 people. However, as the journey progressed, the situation took a dire turn. Responding swiftly to a distress call, the PCG Southern Tagalog District discovered the King Santo Niño 7 partially submerged near Corcuera at approximately 12:30 p.m. on Saturday. Heroic efforts led to the successful rescue of most passengers and crew, but the tragedy claimed the life of a female passenger and 3 others sustained injuries. Amid the relentless onslaught of climate change, President Marcos has sounded a clarion call for action in Pampanga. Acknowledging the profound impact of climate change on the region's recurring floods, President Marcos emphasized the imperative of adapting to this new reality. We need solutions here in Pampanga, he stated firmly during a pivotal situation briefing held at the San Fernando, Pampanga provincial capital. Recognizing that traditional approaches may no longer suffice, he underscored the necessity of forging new pathways to effectively combat the pressing issue.
Okay, so anong plano? What do we do now? Don't tell me basta aayusin na naman natin yung dike para masira ulit for the next one. Kailangan na may bagong plano.
As he led the charge in this critical discourse, President Marcos articulated a resolute message. Climate change is an unwavering reality that demands immediate attention, innovation, and unwavering commitment.
Lahat ng karanasan natin tungkol sa panahon, wala na yan. The weather is changing. Hindi na tayo babalik sa dati. Ganito na ang climate change. I'm sorry, it's really bad news, and we all don't want to deal with it, but we have to. I'm sorry, but ganyan na ang nagbago na ang mundo. At yung mga inaasahan nating season, planting season, wet season, dry season, di na sumusunod. Yung ganitong klaseng pagbuhos ng ulan, doon sa amin, doon sa norte, yung dumaan yung Egay, the last time that nakaramdam kami ng ganon, more than 20 years ago. Bumalik. Kaya hindi na maaari na gagawin natin yung dati nating ginagawa. Dahil it doesn't work anymore. We have to think of new things. We have to be more attuned. Kailangan na unawaan natin na mabuti ang problema ng climate change, ano ang naging epekto dito sa atin. So that's the first thing that kaya yan ang una dapat nating maunawaan at matanggap. Yan na talagang katotohanan ngayon. Hindi na talaga magbabago. Yung dating summer natin, Mayo, Abril, pagkatapos ng summer magtatanim tayo, January nagmimil na tayo, wala na yan. Alam ko, nahilo tayong lahat, pero wala na yan. Kaya kailangan natin mag-isip ng mga panibago. Kung umulit ito, mag-dredge tayo, sabihin natin. Tapos dahan-dahan bumaba ang tubig. Mga 6 months from now, umulan ulit ng ganito. Anong gagawin natin? Baha ulit.
And we bring you the latest developments on the devastating torrential rain that has struck China's northeastern Jilin province. This ongoing weather crisis has left a trail of destruction, resulting in multiple fatalities and displacements across the nation. In a grim report from state media this Sunday, at least 14 lives have been tragically lost due to the relentless downpour. The inclement weather has wreaked havoc in Jilin province, marking the most recent casualties in a series of weather-related disasters spanning over a week. China, grappling with an onslaught of record-breaking heavy rains in recent weeks, has been reeling from the aftermath of these natural disasters. Just last Friday, Beijing announced a staggering toll of 147 deaths or disappearances in the previous month due to these calamitous events. In a distressing update from state-run broadcaster CCTV, another 14 fatalities and 1 missing person have been confirmed today, as local authorities report the dire consequences of heavy rainfall in the northeastern city of Shulan. Although the heavy rains in the region have now subsided, as reported by the state news agency Xinhua, the toll has been immense. Nearly 19,000 individuals have been evacuated, seeking refuge in 21 temporary relocation facilities established to aid those affected. The torrential rain, a result of the aftermath of Storm Doksuri, originally a typhoon that made landfall in mainland China before shifting northwards, has left its indelible mark. This deluge, unprecedented in its severity, stands as the most impactful in the last 140 years. At least 23 individuals have been reported injured and numerous buildings have collapsed following a shallow 5.4 magnitude earthquake that struck during the early hours of Sunday. According to state media, the seismic event wreaked havoc in the province of Shandong, a region unaccustomed to such forceful tremors. The earthquake, described as the strongest to rock the province in over a decade, sent shockwaves rippling across the landscape, inflicting damage and displacing countless residents. The USGS pinpointed the quake's epicenter at a location just 26 kilometers south of Daeju, a city situated within Shandong province. The temblor struck at a shallow depth of 10 kilometers, unleashing its destructive force in the early hours of the morning at precisely 2:33 a.m. local time. Residents from neighboring provinces shared their harrowing experiences, recounting the moment their surroundings began to shake.
俺俩起来上哪边去了？没敢动弹，今天你站你也站不住，光那着那时候，在党院里坐着嘞，我在党院坐着，不敢在屋里了。他怎么那不晚上说是那个大喇叭一说是屋里来住还一次的嘛？没敢在屋里，在党院坐着嘞。
China's Ministry of Emergency Management swiftly sprung into action, initiating a Level 4 emergency response and dispatching a dedicated team to Shandong province for rescue and recovery efforts. To other news now, Cambodia's king appointed Hun Manet as the country's new leader on Monday after his father Hun Sen steps down after nearly 4 decades in power. Hun Sen, one of the world's longest-serving leaders, announced last month that he would be stepping down as prime minister and handing power to his eldest son. The move was widely seen as a dynastic succession and has been met with criticism from some who say it will further consolidate the power of the Hun Sen family. Hun Manet, 45, is a 4-star general in the Cambodian army and has been groomed for the leadership role for years. He's a member of the ruling Cambodian People's Party, or CPP, and has been seen as a potential successor to his father for some time. The handover of power is expected to take place in 2 stages. Monday, King Norodom Sihamoni will issue a royal decree appointing Hun Manet as prime minister. However, Hun Manet will not officially become the country's new leader until he wins a confidence vote in parliament on August 22. And the incoming government is expected to be dominated by young ministers, some of whom will be taking over posts vacated by their fathers. Hun Sen has said that he will not interfere with his son's rule, but he has also promised to remain a dominant figure in Cambodian politics. Cambodia's outgoing Prime Minister Hun Sen strongly rebuked international criticism for the recent elections, which saw his ruling Cambodian People's Party secure a decisive victory. Defending his party's win against a backdrop of limited opposition, Hun Sen also addressed his decision to pass the mantle of power to his son, Hun Manet.
ខ្ញុំសូមអរគុណចំពោះការគ្រប់គ្រងទាំងឡាយដែលផ្ដល់ឱកាសឲ្យបណ្ឌិតហ៊ុនម៉ាណែតคล้ายទៅជានាយករដ្ឋមន្ត្រីនៅពេលខាងមុខពេលច្រើនគឺខ្លួនខ្ញុំនឹងចុះហត្ថលេខាថ្វាយទៅព្រះមហាក្សត្រស្នើសុំបរិយាកិច្ចតែងតាំងហ៊ុនម៉ាណែតជានាយករដ្ឋមន្ត្រីនៅថ្ងៃទី7កុំនៅឯងចង់និយាយថាបន្តវេនបន្តពូជបន្តពួងនៅក្នុងរដ្ឋធម្មនុញ្ញអត់បានហាមឃាត់សិទ្ធិរបស់កូនខ្ញុំមិនឲ្យកាន់តំណែងជានាយករដ្ឋមន្ត្រីទេបើសិនបើហ៊ុនម៉ាណែតគ្រោះថ្នាក់ដល់ជីវិតខ្ញុំត្រូវត្រឡប់មកធ្វើនាយករដ្ឋមន្ត្រីមួយរយៈ
After nearly 4 decades of wielding an iron fist, the 70-year-old leader announced his intention to step down and facilitate a seamless transition of leadership to his son, Hun Manet, who's set to assume the role of Prime Minister later this month. The United States, the United Nations, and European Union have all condemned the election as not free or fair. Election authorities disqualified the only serious opposition party on a technicality, paving the way for the Cambodian People's Party to win 82% of the vote and claim all but 5 seats in the 125-member lower house. Hun Sen will become president of the Senate after stepping down as prime minister, and he will act as acting head of state when the king is overseas. And now news from the entertainment world. Hollywood's pink wave continues to surge as Warner Brothers' Barbie maintains its dominance for the 3rd consecutive weekend across North American theaters. Now, this triumph has propelled the film into an unprecedented realm, surpassing $1 billion in global earnings. Industry authority Exhibitor Relations has confirmed this monumental achievement. Breaking barriers, the film achieved the remarkable feat of reaching the $1 billion milestone faster than any other film in Warner Brothers' century-long legacy, including those helmed by male directors. For the most recent Friday through Sunday period, Barbie is estimated to have earned a remarkable $53 million, pushing its domestic total to $459 million and its staggering global earnings to a remarkable $1.03 billion US dollars. And finally, in our news, Thai golfer Nitithorn Thipong has emerged victorious at the Mandiri Indonesia Open, securing his 3rd Asian Tour title. Thipong, known by his nickname Fever, overcame a challenging season start to claim the title with an impressive performance at the Pondok Indah Golf Course in Jakarta. The 26-year-old golfer concluded the final round with an even par 72, accumulating a total score of 18 under par 270. Despite the competitive push from other golfers, including Australia's Scott Hand, England's Steve Luton, and Chinese Taipei's Lee Che-po, Thipong maintained his edge. Hand, Luton, and Lee each carded 4 under par 68s in the final round, finishing 2 shots behind the leader. Thipong's outstanding performance earned him a well-deserved $90,000 prize for his accomplishments on the Asian Tour's Indonesian leg. Looking ahead, the Asian Tour continues its exciting journey with the upcoming International Series England set to tee off in Newcastle on August 17. As my usual habit, I'd like to end the day on a positive note. Let's encourage and build each other up so that no one is left behind. And that's it for tonight's broadcast. I'm Alma Angeles. Stay in the news because we live in extraordinary times. Good night.